Hi everybody, Tyrone Shoes here. I'm going to talk today about bending. Before I actually get into the physical nature of the event, I want to address some folks that are already bending and know how to do it, but there might be a few questions as far as where we are bending to, how far it is, etc. The first thing I'd like to explain is that your guitar is tuned in 5-fret intervals. In music terms, that's a perfect fourth. Now there's one exception, and that's the G and the B string, and that's a major third. But going back to the way old days, when you're on the desert island, the 5th fret low E is supposed to be the open A. The 5th fret A is supposed to be the D. The 5th fret D is supposed to be the G. The 5th fret G is, the 4th fret G, this is the exception, is supposed to be the B. And then the 5th fret B is supposed to be the open high E. Almost there. What that means is that when you have two adjacent strings on the same fret, they are 5 frets apart. Some guy named Robert says it's Robert's rule of 5. And so that's what that rule is. Notes on adjacent strings and on the same fret are 5 frets apart. Now on this pair, on the G and B, it becomes the rule of 4. But all the rest of them, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5. Let's say you've got, I'm going to move up the neck a ways to give myself a little bit of clearance. Alright, so what this means, just like it takes 5 frets to go from the open to the next open, right? That's why we tune it like that. You have to bring the low E up 5 frets to get it to the open A. What that means, let's take Fredernosis, take open strings out of the equation. These two notes are 5 frets apart. There's 2 ways to get them closer together and 2 ways to make them farther apart. To get them closer together, we take the bottom string and we pull it this way. So that's the same pitch. So, if you're scoring at home, and you should be, this is a 5 fret distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we subtract 1. It's now 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. You can also pull the upper note that way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unison. Alright, so getting farther apart, it's just the opposite. Take the higher string, come this way. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? So that's an octave. Alright. You can also take the fatter string and go that way. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah, it's out of my reach. 11. Anyway, 12. I should have gone farther up the neck. I would have been able to pull that off. And this is kind of cool because, you know, 5, 6, 7. This is the interval of a fifth. And of course, power chords are based on that interval. We're going to be more concerned with getting the intervals closer together, because when we're talking about bending a note, especially in a pentatonic scale or even a diatonic scale, we're always going to be bending a note on the right side into the next note on the left side. The pentatonic scale, I'll just do it on one string. It's A minor, might as well. Alpha, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Golf, and then back to alpha again. 3 frets, 2 frets, 2 frets, 3 frets, 2 frets. So the entire pentatonic scale is either 2 or 3 fret intervals. There's a 3, right? If we do it on one string, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2. Well, we're doing is we're going to learn to read it this way instead of up the same string. We can see that this is 3 frets, but that's not going to be that much important. We're always going to, what's important is going to be the notes on this side, because when we bend, we're going to use our ring finger or maybe even all 4 fingers to pull a string into the next note. So we want to know how far it is from here to here. Now if you paid attention just a few minutes ago, you go, wait a minute. We know it's 5 frets to there. 4, 3, 2. So that's just a whole step bend, right? See? Now this next one on the right side, don't recommend it. Got heavy strings on there. This is going to be a step and a half. That takes some doing. If you're new to bending, avoid the step and a half ones at first. You will learn to embrace them. And also you're going to learn which ones to avoid because they're hard, like this next one. D string is very hard to bend. Easy, medium, difficult, easy, medium, difficult on a solid body electric guitar. So the D string is one of the hardest strings to bend. Well, I just got there at the end, and this is not one that I do or like to do. Maybe on a set of 9s, I could do it all day long. Set of 10s, it takes some doing. These are 11s. That's hard, so I don't do that much. All right, so now the next one, we have a rule of 4 instead of a rule of 5. So that interval looks just like these two. This looks like the same interval, but it certainly doesn't sound the same because these 2 strings are tuned differently. So it's not 5 frets to here, it's only 4. So 4, 3, 2. It's 2 frets. Always know the target pitch that you're bending to. I can't emphasize that enough. I'll probably say it more than once in this video. You must know the target and get there quickly. All right, and finally we have one more. Well, your ear might tell you, but 5, 4, 3, 2, so it's a whole step. And then you go, wait a minute, we got this high E string and we don't have another string to compare it to. But you have a low E string. Whatever value the low E string had, whether it was a whole step or a step and a half, is going to be the same. So we determined that that was a whole step, so even without another string to compare it to, we know that it is a whole step bend. When you get into the diatonic scales, they have more notes. It's always 2 frets or 1 fret. That's a straight A minor scale. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. So nothing's more than a whole step. So obviously all your bends are going to be either whole steps or half steps, so the distance isn't going to be an issue. So whole step, whole step. Now if you use the note here, that's a whole step. If you stretch, that's a half step. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Or if you use this one, right? 5, 4, 3, 2. This one is the same as the other one. It's a whole step. And that's the same as the other one too. It's a whole step. And then this is the same as the other one's a whole step. Now with the diatonic scale, of course, you're going to be, you have other possibilities. You can have half steps, and sometimes you might even bend with your first finger when you've only got like a half step, but let's not do too much. So you learn where the target is, and it's a great exercise to play the target first. And get there quickly. I know I missed one of them. Actually, you can make an exercise. You can make a look at it. Maybe we've heard that somewhere before. I wonder. Okay, so now that you know how to figure out how far it is you have to bend, we're going to talk about the actual doing of the bend. You lock your fingers. You create a pivot. You create a pivot with your index and thumb, and you rotate the wrist like that. When you bend, you don't push your fingers up like this. You grip and you turn your wrist. Notice the angle of my fingers didn't change. I didn't collapse them. I didn't, whatever angle they were at, that's what they stayed. It's wrist. The fingers are locked. They're just there to carry the string. I see a lot of players, they won't use their pinky, which is okay if you're doing a lick like. That's fine. I do that sometimes myself. But generally speaking, if the ring finger falls on the string, it's a 3-finger bend. If the pinky falls on the string, it's all of them. Whoops, sorry. That's what I meant to do, the old Jimi Hendrix thing. So you can tell with these other patterns. So you have to note, like on a, here, this is pattern number 3. I'm not going to do them all, but just to demonstrate that we're going to bend the notes on the right side. Now, that's a step and a half, so we're going to, although right at the middle of the neck, that's one of the easier spots to do it, but we're going to avoid the step and a half bends. The best piece of advice is just to learn the whole step bends at first. The rest will take care of themselves by process of elimination. With the pentatonic scale, remember, it's only 2 or 3 frets. Those are the only 2 possible intervals. So you learn where all the 2 fret bends are, and then everything you don't bend is a 3 fret. So 5, 4, 3, that's a 3. That's a 3, 5, 4, 3. So these 2 we're not going to bend. But this one, 5, 4, 3, 2. That's 3 frets. That's 3 frets. You can hear it, it's closer. They're closer together. That's 2 fret. Now the D string's hard to bend, although right in the middle of the neck, it's quite easy. Now here, remember, it changes to 4 instead of 5. So that's a 2 fret bend. And the G string is the easiest string to bend, and it's right in the middle of the neck, so it's the easiest spot. Easiest bend on the whole guitar, right there, 12th fret G string. Now we're back to the 5 fret count. 5, 4, 3, 2. Now what about this high E string? Well, the low E string was a step and a half, which is kind of doable because the E string's easy to bend and we're in the middle of the neck. But the high E is very hard to bend. I'm not even going to try. Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top has a cheat, and I think he might have got it from B.B. King. I actually think he did. He'll take, although B.B. would muscle it up, he'd muscle it up 3 frets, but Billy Gibbons will take his pinky and he bends it really quick so you don't hear the starting note. Billy Gibbons does that. And it's basically a B.B. King lick. Now, B.B. might have gotten it just by muscling this guy up 3 frets. He had big meat hook hands. But that's one way around that. Okay, so again, we push with the wrist. The fingers are locked. Vibrato's the same, but that's another video. Now you can do a slow bend, but you're kind of in no man's land for a while. You have that, they're harder because you have to remember the final pitch. Right? You have to make sure you remember. Got to remember that final pitch. You have to know where you're going. So there's an example of a slow bend. Famous riff there. I hope this helps, and we'll see you in the next video.